The science behind manifestation and the law of attraction. There are a lot of people who are under the impression that the law of attraction is this wishy-washy witchcraft which has nothing to do with science.
Well, that's because it kind of is. Law of attraction proponents are often quick to declare the law of attraction as universal law. But what the heck is that exactly? From the sound of it, calling the law of attraction a universal law makes it sound like it holds the same status as the physical laws governing our universe. You know, like the second law of thermodynamics, the Newtonian laws of physics, etc. But is the law of attraction really a universal law, like the established laws of our universe? Well, obviously the answer is no. Instead, a law of nature is a generalized statement of natural processes as defined by Merriam-Webster. However, this should not be confused with natural law, a philosophical concept often appropriated by various groups, including New Agers and conspiracy theorists. According to the Encyclopedia Britannica, a law can be considered universal if it states that certain conditions, to the best of our knowledge, consistently occur alongside other conditions. In simpler terms, if something is commonly shared, it's likely to be universal. The Britannica continues by saying a law is considered probabilistic if it affirms that on average, a certain condition is likely to occur in a given percentage of cases displaying other condition. In other words, it suggests that if one thing occurs, there is a probability of another thing happening alongside it. So obviously, in order to make a claim, you need to have evidence. The laws of nature demonstrate their evidence through empirical observation and phenomena. The law of attraction? Well, you can't exactly measure vibrational frequencies or thoughts and cross-compare them to success, so the only thing the law of attraction's got going for it is, well, anecdotal evidence. Personal stories and testimonials often make it seem as though this law has a universal impact. However, relying solely on anecdotes can be misleading and lacks the level of empirical support required in order to actually be consistent. Law of attraction shills are often quick to point out testimonials of the law of attraction in action. The Secret does it all the time. Every week or so, The Secret spews a new testimonial of anecdotal evidence that shows someone going through some sort of major problem. In each one, they use the secret/law of attraction to make things better for themselves. The testimonials follow a similar formula. Start out with the bad thing that happens, say that they used the secret, and then suddenly everything is magical again. Now, where's all the evidence the secret has of the law of attraction not working? Yeah, pretty much. We won't question the verifiability of these testimonials here, as dubious as they are, nor am I going into how this utilizes survivorship bias to make the law of attraction look good, as survivorship bias is a concept that deserves its own video. But we can say that if this is the best the law of attraction has going for it, it's not that good. Not to mention that odds are for every one testimonial for the law of attraction, there's at least two against it. But again, they're not shown because of survivorship bias, and one other thing I'll hit up upon later. So what about people who look at the law of attraction and think it's a bunch of mumbo-jumbo feel-good baloney, because it is? Well, the law of attraction's got you covered there too. Law of attraction shills use sciencey words and concepts to shill the law of attraction in what's known in skeptic circles as pseudoscience. Pseudoscience essentially is something that may sound scientific, but lacks substantial evidence or fails to adhere to scientific principles. Often this is done taking legitimate scientific concepts and twisting them to fit a narrative. A favorite for law of attraction shills? The word quantum.
Law of attraction and manifesting things into your life is actually highly correlated to science, it being quantum physics.
This is Devi Sitaram, a self-proclaimed expert on the law of attraction. She also holds a PhD in chemical engineering, which apparently somehow qualifies her to discuss quantum physics and/or mechanics, even though that's a completely different discipline. Seriously, this is on par with someone who has a PhD in economics giving a talk about sociology. She has no formal proof of education on quantum anything, and yet she seems extremely comfortable discussing it as if it's just basic knowledge.
So we know about, for example, sound frequencies. What I mean by frequency is waves. We know that sound consists of waves, and the number or the pitch of the frequency refers to how quickly the waves progress in a period or in time.
She basically goes on a tangent about how sound and light are both frequencies, which is fairly accurate, as well as that we can't see everything on a spectrum, which is also accurate, but this is all basic science, and none of which has really anything to do with the law of attraction.
Now, why am I mentioning this? What I want you to understand is that what we can observe with our physical senses is only a very small part of what exists. Now, why is this related to manifestation? Because manifestation, you need to understand manifestation is something from the non-physical world.
And there it is. We've gone from things that the human eye cannot observe, which, by the way, we have devices which can observe these things, to the claim that physical manifestation and later emotions are not of this world, which is absolutely wrong. They're just nerve impulses that we can detect, but there's nothing really associated with them, at least in terms of physics. You'd have to go into psychology or philosophy for that, none of which have a scientific background. People like Ceterum do a disservice to actual quantum science. Quantum simply means small. As a Caltech website describes it, quantum physics is the study of matter and energy at the most fundamental level. It aims to uncover the properties and behaviors of the very building blocks of nature. An argument can be made that changes on the quantum level can affect things on our level, but evidence as to how specific thoughts change things quantumly is sparse, if even there is any. The evidence that is present suggests that we do have a thought frequency of sorts, but it's nearly impossible for it to escape our skull, and if it does, it barely makes it out. A far cry from the law of attraction's claim on how thoughts will reach the universe. And for a supposed universal law, the law of attraction itself is one of the vaguest things out there. If it were true, there would be a clear chain of events leading to the specific manifestation one has. And the truth is that most events are simply too complicated to determine this. Why did someone manifest being abused? Did they just think negative thoughts? Did they choose it prior to being reincarnated? Or were they just not grateful enough? There's several other excuses as well. The lack of clarity means that there's no way to show consistency how the law of attraction even works, which puts a further dent in it. In other words, there's no clear way to show how if one thing occurred, it was because of another prior event. Now, there's one more reason why the law of attraction isn't a universal law, and that's this. It's unfalsifiable. Now, you're probably thinking, hey, wouldn't being unfalsifiable be a good thing? It would mean it's 100% true, right? No, that's the wrong way to look at it. An unfalsifiable claim means that it cannot be tested or disproven. This lack of falsifiability undermines the scientific method, hindering our ability to scrutinize and question the validity of this law. Every other law can be empirically demonstrated. Why not the law of attraction? Well, because there's absolutely nothing empirical about the law of attraction. As established before, the only thing that the law of attraction has going for it is anecdotal evidence, and whatever concepts of legitimate science can be twisted to fit the narrative of the law of attraction. And there you have it. For a law that's supposedly so universal, there sure seems to be a lot of holes in it. Really, the law of attraction isn't so much a universal law as it is a pledge of faith. It's no different from Christian Science or prosperity gospel, with the only difference being that there's nothing specifically linking it to Christianity in its main circles. Given how vague and ambiguous the law of attraction is, that would probably make the only universal thing about it the fact that it's absolutely not universal.